All right, welcome to Power BI for Government Community of Practice number 6. It's great to have you along here. I'm obviously based in Melbourne and a rainy day, but it's good that we can meet up virtually and come to see what's happening in the world of Power BI. So just a little bit of housekeeping before we do kick off. Due to the amount of attendees, please do put your microphone on mute. If you have a question, please just drop it in the chat as there's so many of us here today. Just to note, this session is being recorded, so you don't have to have your camera on or off, but just note I am recording the screen and the audio, and there's obviously many people are going to miss the event today. I'll host that up on YouTube. So just to note that this is going to be a recorded session. If this is your first time at the Power BI for Government Community of Practice, welcome. Our goal here is to keep informed about what is happening in the world of Power BI, to be able to connect with other people within the government sector. And essentially we focus on user stories, so seeing Power BI reports that are being used in industry, learning opportunities. So I'm going to do a short little training session at the end of this session, and Power BI updates. So what has happened in the world of Power BI? We know Power BI updates every month, so I want to keep you informed so that you know what is happening. So hopefully you enjoy the session, and always anyone in government is welcome. So please do share it around to any colleagues that might be interested. For those of you who haven't met me, my name's Warren Dean. I'm the founder at Datatail. Datatail is a company that provides Power BI training. So I've trained over 1,000 people now, Power BI report development, best practice, and architecture. So if you have any Power BI needs, you have my email, please do reach out. More than happy to give you a hand. In terms of training, I'm hoping to kick off some training sessions in November. So if anyone hasn't been on Power BI training for government, we do have that course coming up in November, Power BI Advanced and Storytelling. So I have a few people on the wait list, do need a few more people if we're going to run one of these sessions before the end of the year. So if you haven't been on any of these courses, please do shoot me an email. Or if you want to host this course corporately, so you can have up to 8 people in your organization, we do have the 0 to hero package, so we'll do all 3 courses in 3 days and do end-to-end Power BI. But in terms of today's session, so we have Anna from Victorian Ombudsman. She is going to present on a Power BI centric business glossary solution. Really interesting. I've seen a snapshot of this, so I'm sure you'll enjoy the solution that she's built there. I'm going to start off the session with some updates in Power BI. And then at the end of the session, I'm going to do a kind of short free training on what's called synoptic panels. So I'll give you a demo of that. I'll give you the files and we can do the training together. Before I do that, though, I have a free book giveaway here. I'm not sure if I can get that exact same picture on my hand because of the way I'm viewing it, but I have the book here, Power BI Performance Best Practices. So if you are, I suppose if you've been in Power BI for a while, you're interested in what is the best practice in terms of the performance. Maybe my report is performing slowly. I'm not sure if I'm using the right architecture. This is the book for you. All right, so quarterly wrap up. What is new in Power BI? So we have multiple audiences for Power BI apps. So if you haven't used Power BI apps before, let me give you a quick demo. If you haven't seen this slide before, I do have this in all my Power BI training courses. This is the architecture of Power BI, and you can see down the bottom here, I'm in Power BI Desktop. In Power BI Desktop, you connect to different data sources, you build data sets and publish them to the Power BI service. Once you're in the Power BI service, you would know that you're stuck within a workspace. And so when you're in a workspace, at the end of the workspace, you can create something that's referred to as an app. So an app is really a container of dashboards and reports in Power BI. If you're not using apps, apps are really the way that you distribute your content to the enterprise. You really shouldn't be sharing it from within a workspace. You should share it within an app. But one of the issues with an app was, what if I built a report for the whole organization and I built another report for the CEO and I wanted that all in one app, in one workspace? Currently, you weren't able to do that. Well, actually, I shouldn't say currently. Now you can. So let me give you a quick demo. I'm going to open up Power BI. Here you can see I'm in a workspace referred to as test. And what I want to do is create an app for the end users to consume. So I can click on update the app. And this is all new that we have these 1, 2, 3 buttons at the top. So here, what's the name of my app, etc. Here you can add content. So this is a bit confusing. I didn't realize at the start. So there's a drop-down button where it goes add a link and add a new section. But here we have a plus button where I can add anything within my workspace. So I can add another report here. So I'll add module 1 within my particular workspace. And here are my Power BI reports that people can view. Now, the third one is the new part where we can look at the audience. So here I have my whole audience, but I can also add a new audience. And in this new audience, I don't want them to see module 1. Maybe that's just for the CEO. So I can hide that. And then when I publish this app, obviously I can set up who has access and who can view. So maybe the CEO and directors can see every single Power BI report and dashboard, but everyone else is only going to see, maybe just this one. So I can have multiple audiences, I think up to 6. And what that helps us now do is instead of, building a workspace for the CEO view and a workspace for everyone else, we can just have one workspace. When we publish the app, we can have multiple audiences. So that's something I'm quite excited about in terms of having less workspaces. So that's multiple audiences in an app. Next one I'm going to show you is conditional formatting for data labels. So let me open up my demo file here. So here I have Power BI report and I have data labels turned on. If I select this chart, I go over to format the visual. And in the data labels section down here, I'll just expand it and then I'll zoom in. I can go to the values, and whenever you see an FX, you can do some conditional formatting. So this is new. You can now do it on the labels as well. So if I wanted everything over, let's say this red line, 10 million to also be red, I can jump into here. I can change my rules. So I want to look at in financials. What am I looking at? Sales. I think I'm looking at sales. And if the number is greater than 10 million, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, make that red. Otherwise, if it's less, make it, I don't know, let's go blue. So if it's less than the whole percent, max percent, min percent, and if it's greater than 10 million. Saying here is if the value is greater than 0%, so that's everything, and less than 10 million, make it blue. If it's greater than 10 million and less than, that's why I should put 100%, not 0, sorry. Then you get orange. So conditional formatting, that's available here for you in the line chart, so you can highlight something that's maybe over a KPI line. Another thing I will show you is offsets. So if you've used Excel a lot, you'd know in Excel, if you wanted to do, the difference between the row above or the cell above, to me, in this example here, I could just write, equals cell above minus this cell. We don't have a concept of cell in Power BI, so now we have an offset function in DAX. And if I show you the formula for that, so if I just look at this in DAX, so it isn't released yet, so it's not in IntelliSense. You'll still get errors, but essentially here I am summing the sales, but I'm offsetting it by 1. So this will be released in IntelliSense soon, but what this allows me to now do is just based on the product before, based on searching A to Z, you can see here that 17 million comes from this row. And it doesn't matter how I sort it, because in DAX I've sorted it. So here now it's going the other way. So this one is the row before alphabetically. So that is a new function within DAX that's called offset. I'll just quickly show you the code again. So you still use it within a calculate, and there's the offset function. All right, last one I'm going to show you is search. So this is a custom visual. I use the search custom visual a lot. Let me show you how you add custom visuals in Power BI. So get more visuals. If I just write text. So this is the one historically that I use, text filter, Microsoft. It's certified visual. But this is a new one that's just come out, and it has also just been certified as well. And I'll be moving to using this one. I know I'm going to show you why. If ever you need someone to search something text-wise in your Power BI report, this was the old one that I used to use. Unfortunately, it took up a lot of space. So here I can search, and I can write Canada as a country. And you can see here it's going to filter my report and just look at Canada data. And it has a little eraser button here. Now, this was fine, but it always had to be a certain size, where this new one, you can actually get quite a bit smaller. Here I can write Canada, but what if I wanted someone to search by country or segment or product? Previously, I would need 3 of these visuals on the page, where this one allows you to bring in more. So here, if I go to the country, I can put the product in there. I can also put the segment, and looks quite nice and clean. And down the bottom, I can select. So I want to search by product, I select product. So that is a very handy custom visual that I'll be making use of, and I'll probably be removing all of these out of my report and just using this one now that it is certified. So I'll show you again what that one is called. Text. So it is here. It's called Text Search Slicer by Data Brothers. So very cool if you like using custom visuals. If you are interested in custom visuals, I will drop in the chat. I do have a YouTube video where I go through my top 10 custom visuals, and it did include that one. I'll have to go and update it to include this new one. So I'll drop that in the link. If you're interested in the top 10 custom visuals that I use on my Power BI reports, there's a file that you can actually download the file that I'm using and play around with custom visuals there. All right, jump back into my presentation. So we did conditional formatting, DAX, new Power BI search. Okay, Anna, we're going to hand over to you if you'd like to take over the screen. And Anna will be presenting on Power BI centric Business Glossary solution.
Hi, everybody. It's Anna Schwartzman, and I'm working for Victorian Ombudsman. I'm going to present a Power BI solution for our Business Glossary. So a little bit about Victorian Ombudsman. It's integrity agency, and actually it will be celebrating 60 years. And at the end of October, it's one of the oldest ombudsman agencies in the world. And we are staying between the individuals and government agency or entities to resolve different complaints and issues. So this is sort of a specter of what Victorian Ombudsman is doing within the government space. In terms of my role within Victorian Ombudsman, I'm part of data governance reporting and risk and compliance team. And the agency itself is not a big agency. It's about 140 something people. And the IT, which is called knowledge and development, and knowledge and information, and also reporting and governance. There are 2 teams that mostly looking after the data. We've got wonderful visual Power BI and data warehouse specialist within KNT. She's doing a terrific job in Power BI reporting, etc. So what I'm going to present, I'm not a Power BI developer, but I've used Power BI in solving the issue. It's not an issue, but it's a business glossary for Victorian government that didn't exist before. So we wanted to have the solution, how to present to the whole VO something meaningful so people can search for particular terms and find the calculations that's covering the whole Victorian Ombudsman, and everybody will be on the same page. So Business Glossary, it's a part of the whole data governance initiative within VO. And I just put a very generic DAMA circle. It's basically data management principles, and you can see the data governance in the middle, and it's covering all the data related data management and policy and security, etc. related issues. So Business Glossary is supposed to sort of start the initiative for everybody in Victorian Ombudsman to be involved and understanding what data is about, because everybody using it, but data governance is how to use it responsibly and the right way. So this basically is covering what's on the screen, what I've just described. Now, how I did come to Power BI as a solution is, if you look at the definition of the Business Glossary, it's basically saying it's a platform that allows to analyze, report, or communicate. And I thought at the beginning that what Power BI is about, actually, it's also about analyzing, reporting, communicating, or sharing what actually you've done. So there are a lot of products, the Business Glossary products, they could be quite expensive. And before you even buy any of those, you probably need to understand and create the content for Business Glossary regardless, because nobody will create a content for you. You just buy a shell and you have to fill the shell with the content. So I decided, okay, even if it wouldn't be a forever solution, it will be interim solution to collect all the Business Glossary that's sitting in silos around the whole Victorian Ombudsman. And it will be sort of a collection that we can transfer anyway. Okay, we'll buy Business Glossary as a product. We can still got a content to transfer, and it's a content with a model behind. So that was my approach. And I did understand that I couldn't cover everything with the Business Glossary that I'll be creating as a repository. Most of the things I wanted to achieve is the plain search and who I should talk to if I need to check the calculation, because most of the activities and a lot of activities in agencies, especially government agencies, are related to reporting. So to be sure that the reports are covered in terms of quality, security, identification, privacy, you need to communicate with the who designed the report, but also with the business unit who ordered the report. So that was the whole thing, to have everybody involved and sitting around the data area. So the ideal vision of the Business Glossary was not only having the business terminology, but having a data lineage and to see what tables we use in the databases and the other sources, and also of what security, privacy is connected to the terms that you're looking for. What you see now on the screen is ideal version. Of course, I couldn't implement the whole thing, but as an interim solution for collecting just the business terms and at least calculations for reporting, that was the Business Glossary in Power BI was designed from. So that's how the Business Glossary within VO looked like, and even currently have. So you've got the glossary in the Word document, you've got a glossary in Excel, you've got glossary in Power BI reporting and as one of the tabs. to collect all of this through organization, I basically did go through one by one and created just the tabs in Excel spreadsheet for each of the glossaries to be able to import it into Power BI, because I thought Power BI will be a presentable solution for that. So this is sort of a context diagram of the whole business glossary that I created because we wanted to have business glossary available through Power BI in SharePoint, in Teams as a tab. So it's easy for people to look up, and because if you've got a new people coming to the agency, they need to understand a lot of abbreviation terminology. So that's why I thought, okay, Team Channel could be a nice way of searching for any terms within the glossary. So that's the whole concept was around Power BI, but also if people don't agree with particular business term, want to do modification or introduce a new one, I ended up thinking, okay, how to do this? And the way to do it, I found that probably Power App is an entry form for any of those new request terms. So that was a sort of a satellite solution for Power BI as a presentation of the particular term and search for the term. But also if that person wants to introduce the particular business term, it's still somebody needs to approve this business term. So that's why I introduced another tool, which is Power Automate, which create a sort of a flow to the manager of this business unit to approve this term or calculation, which is mostly important for reporting. So that's somehow all this concept of business glossary was developing. It didn't come to my mind at the beginning that it will be this way, but it's gradually sort of was growing always the different layers of technology. Business glossary model itself, it's not just a business term and calculation and definition. It also involves other things like you've got a data quality perspective, you've got a history of somebody changing the data term, you've got a risk and privacy if this particular term needs to be treated a particular way. But in terms of presentation, Power BI visuals, you have to pick which one needs to be on a page for the normal user that accessing and looking for particular term, and which are sitting behind the scenes and will be serving for data lineage once we buy or create anything related to that data, metadata and lineage as well. So I was trying to implement that part as well, not for normal user to be presentable in the front of Power BI, but thinking ahead if we are going to use some metadata dictionary or tools later on. And that's basically what you see now. It's a structure that I'm collecting to populate the Power BI report. And the business term overview, it's the mostly part of the fields that will be presented in Power BI as a report. And you can see, is it mandatory or is it something that I want to present or not? Now, that's the look of Power BI report on Business Glossary. This is, I'll end this PowerPoint presentation. I'll go directly to Power BI. Please tell me if you can see the Power BI report itself. So the first page that you've seen in Power BI presentation was just a page, a front page, where the users look when they first open the Power BI report. And you can see it's just the generic information. There's no clicks on that apart from one when you need to introduce a new term or modify existing term, or if you want to send us a message. So that's where you've got the power automate and power flow just from one button triggering the flow of a new term or modification of the term. So the next page is actually Business Glossary itself. And when I approaching Business Glossary, I was thinking, where do you need the Business Glossary? It's first of all, when you search for the term and people just want to confirm the calculations and definitions or abbreviations, but also you need Business Glossary. You've got multiple reports in Power BI. If you create it as the Business Glossary as a data set, you just pick particular set for particular report, and it will be embedded as a standard of your Power BI. So you wouldn't be choosing the last page, what should I be introducing, and be part of the report. And that's why I ended with the sort of set and subset. It's a domain type. So on a top, in a blue part, you've got our practically business unit. You've got knowledge and technology. You've got governance and reporting. You've got human resources. And when you click any of those, you can see not everything is populated extensively, but if I click executives, they are basically looking after set acronyms. So it's filtering the acronym set. If I use set functions, which our complaints handling team, you've got the terminology that relates and there were the set function, they're looking after this particular data set. So the way that it's set up, it's based on domains, but also based on within the domain on the whole things. For example, in every company, you've got annual reports. So annual reports, if I click on annual reports, it's part of the business domain, and every calculations and everything on a page is relates on a glossary for annual report. So I used, in terms of visualization, I've used for the main part, which is I use the cards. I thought that multi-card view, it's actually great because people, it's like, it's an olden style of the library. You've got cards when you're looking for something. That's why I approached it this way. And it's also showing, if you hover over, I've got not only the definition, but calculation rules for this particular term, if it exists. And I was trying to put as much information as possible, just to show that it's not only definition of the term, but what unit is responsible, when it's last reviewed, if it's been approved, the security classification, does it need identification rules or not? That's all information that I was trying to include. It will be nice to have a card which is drilled through when you click and it opens another card, but I haven't found one, which is, I'm just thinking ahead that maybe somebody will create something like this and it will potentially have some drill through, drill through sort of accommodating the needs. Interesting that I did use the text Serach that Warren was talking about, and you can see that it will be, I couldn't put everything in a title, so I created a separate Serach term sort of a title for the visual. Now I think I'll definitely switch. I'll use the new one, because with this I can only search for the names of the terms. With the one that Warren suggested, I will be able to use the search not only on the title, but on the definitions or calculation rules. So it's really, really useful. I'm glad that they did something that will help in this area. In terms of that's another tab, and that's explained to the users who is the owner of the term, basically. On the left side, I put a glossary of the glossary. So I've just shown how I can use the data through filters. I'm picking particular set. It's a glossary subset for business glossary. So, and you are accommodating what all the terminology you need for this particular set in your report itself. So that's probably one part. I just want to show you also that this been used in as the business glossary terminology was used in the other reports. This is Google Analytics report that I've built, and you can see that I built a business glossary, and it's basically drilling the data from the business glossary data set, and I'm picking one by one. I'm picking one by one through the filters, the terms that I need for this particular report. So if we compare this one to another one, you can see that this set, the terms are different. In terms of other technologies that I've used, if I can show you, Warren, do I have time?
Yeah, you've got time. You're right.
Okay, so the other bit is it's basically how to get the new term request, and I've used Power Apps, and this one. So this is the form that I created in Power Apps, but it's built on a Microsoft list. So if somebody wants to create a new term or introduce a new term, it just open it within, let's say, Team channel or from SharePoint link and introduce the new term, and the request type, it could be modify, rule, calculation, any other. It also covers is it internal term or external term. You put the definition, you put the calculations, and you have to pick what set it is about, which is practically your business unit. It could be, let's say, human resource, so it could be finance, so it could be investigations team, and according to that, or the glossary set could be just a chunk of information that everybody is using across, as for example, the social media. The subset for social media, you can pick the terminology either for Twitter and those one that we are using. The classification type, it's basically sensitivity, but also it's really important now, you know, all the issues with privacy and everything. We've got privacy classification. If it exists, you have to mention this specific calculation needs to be, this term needs to be checked. So, and you put what exactly needs to be checked, and you save. And once it's saved, it triggers the Power Automate, which is created once you press save. It goes through the Power Automate. So the item you create is just a record for the particular business term, and you've got the email going to approve with the text, and you can create the message, the email, and it's quite standard, and you send email to approver and to requester, and they're aware that you are on the top of this new business term that they want to introduce. So the same flow we've got once you approve, it triggers another set of emails. It's another flow. So this, all the technology-wise sort of satellite that I've created for Power BI solution for Business Glossary. So I think probably, have you got any questions so far?
Yeah, there's a question from Ed in terms of how are you managing sharing so that everyone can access the report in all the entry points?
Okay, I'll show you. First of all, it's on our SharePoint site, published. But also, I'm encouraging people encouraging people to use Teams. And for example, the business glossary term, it's in our team channel. And I'm encouraging not only within our team, but put a link in a tab within the teams. So if somebody wants to to introduce new calculation rule, a new term, or anything, it's easy, it's accessible, it's on your fingertips. The same actually goes for glossary itself. So I've got another tab, which you've got in a channel, you've got a glossary. That's your glossary. So that's another link, and you can search and you can look up everything within, and you also can, even from the first page, you can click and log the new term request as well. So that's how we're managing in terms of be accessible to everybody, but also there is a link on our SharePoint site. Where you can go to governance and reporting, and you've got, for example, that was a link when we did the introduction, and you can go from here and you press the button and you got your business glossary from there. So there are several ways that people access it, and it's useful because people use it for different purposes. In the future, for example, what I found that people are not proactive in terms of introducing the new terms. So what I'm thinking the next bit in terms of the Power BI, it's actually do go through the text and pick up and do some machine learning of intelligence behind the Word document, what terms pick up from all the different documentations that we've got, what's the most important, but that's a big story.
Sorry, Anna, it's Ed. Just to follow up my question, have you shared that report with the whole organization?
Yes.
Like, have you got a security group which just has everyone in it?
It's this particular report is shared with the whole organization.
Okay.
I've got a test copy in my workspace, but for example, if you look and you go to this one, you can see it's on organizational level space.
Yeah. Excellent. Any other questions? No? All good. Well, thanks, Anna. I mean, that a solution showing the whole Power Platform, I don't think you've left anything out there. So well done incorporating all that into one solution. And I knew you'd enjoy seeing that because there's really interesting use of the whole Power Platform for a kind of end-to-end solution. And even brought in Teams there at the end. So I know that. So thank you. Thanks, Anna. That was really good.
Thanks, Brian.
Okay, for our last little session, I'm going to do a bit of a training demo. If you want to follow along, I'm going to drop some links. There's one Power BI file that you'll need to download and an image. So I'm going to drop 2 links in the chat. If you don't want to follow along, that's fine. You can always watch it on YouTube later, and I'll put the files up there as well. So hopefully you can see Google Drive. Now, again, because there's so many here, I'm not actually going to be able to debug or help you out. So just see how you go. I'll post it all up on YouTube if you want to have a go now. And if you get stuck, you can have another go. Now, just note, I'm dropping the form link in here for if you wanted to win the performance book in Power BI, because I noticed some people put it in the chat. So if you do want to be part of that competition, just enter it in there. I'm just going to share my screen now. Share this one. Okay. So we're going to be looking at Synoptic Panel. So we're going to build this particular floor plan here. So Synoptic Panel, not really a GIS solution, but if you have floor plans or some type of map where you want to draw the area yourself. So some examples might be, a facility where in the facility you want to have a look at certain areas. You might have sensors counting people and you want to see darker where there's more people and lighter where there's less people, or this solution here, which I've built before, which is IoT sensors in parking, where here I can see there's lots of people overstaying in this area and nobody's overstaying in this area. So I might want to tell the enforcement agents to go into this area instead of here. So anything where you have some kind of floor plan, a map, floor plan of seating arrangements, anything like that, you can use this solution for. So what I'm going to do is I'm also going to open up that file that I've sent you. So it's called Training Building Sensors. Drop that in there. While that's opening up, if you're following along, you will need to go to synoptic.design. So I will copy this into the link for you, to the chat, sorry. Drop that in the chat. And so this website allows us to use this custom visual. So in this particular custom visual, I can take an image and drop it into here. So what I would like you to do is to get the image so you can see this is exactly what I sent you in those Google Drive links. I'm taking this floor plan image and I'm just going to drop it into this particular website. Yes, so you can see here's my floor plan. Now this is a plan that I want to align with my Power BI data. So I have some Power BI data that has a room number 1 to 10 or 11 and the count of how many people have been in that room at a particular day. And so this is my facility. You'll see down the bottom here, it's on the magic wand. You can create your own areas as well. Now the magic wand only works if everything is closed off, but if for some reason I wanted a little area just here and maybe a separate one here, I could create the boxes myself. So I'll just demo that for you. Here I can click, 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 that's box 1, click, 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 click. So if I wanted to split the corridor, but there was no line there. So you can see on the right here, I'm getting 2 areas and this is the points that's kind of making up the polygon. So I'll delete these because what I want to do is actually use the rooms. So I'll click on the magic wand and I'll just go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, etc. And here I have 11 rooms and you can see the areas are selected here on the side where I can see I have the 11. Now what I want to do is I want to take this image and use it as an SVG file. And that's what this button down the bottom right does here. So I can export this to a Power BI file. So I can click on Export to Power BI. Here's my file with just black squares. And I just need to save as. So save image as. I'm just going to leave it as download.svg. So I click download.svg. And that's the file that we're going to use. So let's jump into Power BI now. So I'm just moving Power BI up. Now, just to show you in my report here, I have a date, a room, and the day of the week and the count, etc. So that's all the data is. Really, I'm interested in the room number and the count. So if I jump into Power BI, I've already dropped it in here for you, but it is referred to as synoptic panel. If I get more visuals, and I'll show you where it is. If I just write panel, this is the visual that I'm using here. So synoptic panel by OCViz. So it's already in this file. I'm going to click synoptic panel, and it's going to need some data. So if I open up my sheet on the side, what we're going to need is, so the category is going to be the room, which is I think room 15, and then we can just look at the count, or we can look at average count as the measure. Now the chart is not going to work until we put an SVG file in here to map against our data. So what I want you to do is select the local maps. And you see here's the file that we're going to use. We can see they're all black at the moment, but if you remember, this was 1, 2, 3, so they are mapped. So if I click on that file, and I can bring it in, and we'll sort out the colors, but if we have a look, you can see they're all green. Room 1 is 51. If I hover on room 2, it's 47, 53. So I have the counts now, because if I bring this in as a table over here, I have room average count. Just make that into a table, and I'll just unaggregate that. So you can see here, when I click on room 1, it's going to highlight room 1 for me. This is the one that had an average count of 51 people. Room 8 had 58. So here's room 8. So we just need to add some conditional formatting for higher and lower. So if I select my chart, go to the conditional formatting, it's referred to as states. And here I could enter some colors. So state 1 could be red, and when it is 40, and then 50 might be yellow, 60 might be purple. I think I've done this the wrong way around, do it like that. So I'll just leave that there a second so you can see. So I've just selected this emblem, and I'm saying 40, 50, 60, and I'm just choosing some random colors to show you. Obviously, you can spend a little bit more time cleaning that up. But a really good solution for any of your planning teams or your enforcement teams or anyone who has a floor plan. How many people sit at a particular desk? How many people are parking in a certain car park? How many people are using a certain room in a facility? Anything that you have a floor plan, you can bring it into Power BI. And I thought I'd demo that for you, because especially for those of you in the council space, I think you would find a lot of use in terms of, parking, people sitting in areas, IoT sensors of buildings, facilities, open space area. If you've got the data, if you've got a floor plan, you can bring all that into Power BI. So I'll just check the chat if there's any questions about that. Risk matrix, yeah, that's another good option. Yeah. Thanks, Brian. Sorry, we've gone a little bit over time, so let me get the winner of the book up and running. So I've connected that data. So if you haven't filled in the form now, please do fill in the form. You can see here, actually, I've got the form, so I've been watching. So this form, at the moment, there's 67 respondents. This is connected to my Power BI file. I'll open up my Power BI file here. So I've got 50. I'm just going to refresh it. So it is connected to the form data. Now I've got 71, which is good. So I've got our 71 people. If you want to enter, I'll just give you 10 seconds to jump in. But it is connected all via forms. So if ever you're doing a survey, you want to do something live like this, you can connect your Power BI straight to your form starter. And there is a name defined here, but I've got a random generator. If you have a look at this table here, so I'm looking for a winner where I'm picking a random number between 1 and the max. So if we have a look in here, here's all our numbers. Everyone has an ID that's been auto-generated by forms. So what I'm going to do now, I'm just hiding it because I was testing it. Someone's name's there. I'm going to click on refresh, and when I move this, whichever name is there will be the winner. So I'll click on refresh. 76 people. Okay, so some people were joining in, so I'll just click one more time. All right, 76, and the winner is Maxine. Oh, I should have made that bigger so I can see it. McDermott. All right, congratulations, Maxine. I'll get in touch with you, or if I don't, please do send me an email, give me your postal address, and I'll post that out to you. But thanks so much, everyone, for attending our session today. If I just get it to end. Just to, I suppose, sum up for me. So if you are interested in Power BI training, development, rather, please do give me a call. Thanks so much for attending. We'll have another session probably early next year. So thank you again, Anna, as well. Really interesting presentation. Thanks, everyone. I'm going to end the recording now. If anyone sticks on the line, ask any other questions, you're more than welcome. Otherwise, I'll see you at our next session or via our email. So thanks, everyone. Enjoy your day.